Go ahead, Michael Hart. Unmute.
Hello. I'm one of the coordinators of the Amnesty International group in Boston that was mentioned earlier. And our group is working on the Rania case file, and we're hoping to release her and her family. We are working on the case continuously. And if you would like to join us in our efforts, you can join our Facebook page for her, which is simply called Free Rania Al-Abbasi. And she also has a Twitter account now that you can follow as well, called Free Rania. And if you want more information, reach out through social media. We are continuously lobbying Syrian officials, US government officials, as well as people at the United Nations. And we have online actions that you can take, as well as emails and good old-fashioned letters that you can print and send to these officials. So thank you so much for having this event. It's been horrifying but illuminating, and my heart goes out to the families that are affected.
And by the way, you have the ability to save the whole chat. So if you, I know a lot of people don't know how to do that, but there's the three dots, the ellipsis. If you click on that, you get a chance to save chat, and then another button shows you where you saved it on your own computer. So that's something you can do several times during this event. Next up is David. If David could unmute. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. First of all, I'd like to say that I give my deepest sympathy to the Al-Abbasi family and to the family of Dr. Kamal Mas, and my deep appreciation for Stanton Heller and company, all who were involved in organizing the event, which is an important event. It used to be when I was a younger man, we could turn to the anti-war left in this country for solidarity campaigns for political prisoners. With the Syrian revolution, that changed dramatically, which came as a great shock to me. And I struggle to try to understand what's happening, but I have been thinking about this for a while. And there are some terrible contradictions here that we're facing against. So, for example, even as Obama walked away from the red line in Syria and opened the door to Putin to begin systematic bombing of civilians, he offered political support for a military coup in Honduras. And both of these events are significant because that military coup in Honduras is part of the history of the huge refugee crisis at our border, southern border. And of course, the intense bombing of cities, unrestricted bombing in Syria was, of course, the key factor behind the flood of refugees into Europe. And we did see in the first year of the Trump administration a huge spontaneous mass movement in solidarity with refugees when Trump attempted to impose the ban on Muslim refugees. People flooded into the airports, and it was, I thought, something indicative of what the kind of movement we need to build. An international movement for human rights, solidarity for human rights. Unfortunately, we seem to have lost that. Something was lost. And part of the problem is I think that so many of our movements are separated. So, for example, my wife and I lived in Mexico for 9 years. My wife is Mexican. My family is Mexican. We try to work within the Mexican American community to build solidarity with immigrants who are undocumented and face repression, and also with the refugees at the border. But our anti-war collective is consistently trying to do solidarity around Syria with political prisoners in Syria, but also with political prisoners in Chile, Colombia, et cetera. And we find that every time we go to one event, it's a separate event from another. Every event is separate, and simply, it's like it's impossible to bring these things together. If my help is welcome, I'd be glad to join the Promote Enduring Peace work group. I think what we need to do is to figure out how to break up overcome this isolation of these different struggles, because they're all struggles for human rights ultimately. And that means that we're going to have to take into consideration some obstacles to overcoming that. One is the fact that the anti-war left of the United States is in the hands of leaderships who actually support Assad and Putin, which is a travesty because there is still a danger of nuclear war and these issues still are pressing problems. The other problem is that the immigrant rights movement in this country doesn't want to think about the Middle East, which is a problem because refugees all the way from Ukraine even are at the southern border. And then finally, I think there's another difficulty, which I find shocking, which is that the Palestinian solidarity movement in this country has been, I don't know, for the large part anyway, or a lot of the groups that I know studiously try to avoid talking about Syria and Lebanon, and this is a real problem. I guess one way to overcome these issues is to take up, I think, solidarity with refugees in general. That way we bring up these issues, and also political prisoners in general, much like Amnesty International does, and my salute to the effort out of Boston. And then I guess I'll just say that I'm ready to help any way I can.
Well, thank you very much, and your help is very much appreciated. One thing I just put into the chat, a link to an article I wrote about Syrians and Ukrainians, and we've been trying to link that up in the public's mind. And so at a demonstration for Ukraine that we participated in, I guess over a month ago, Dylan Connor, who asked a question before, came. He wore Syrian, a shirt that talked about Syria solidarity, and he brought his mother-in-law, and who was Syrian, and so on. And so, yes, definitely connect these issues. Our last forum was with a Palestinian who was born in Syria, Nidal Batari. So again, trying to connect things there. And there are people who are willing to be broad in that respect, and not just look at their own thing, but look at other causes and have solidarity go back and forth. Did any of our speakers want to also answer or make a remark with David, to David? I can't really see if you're doing a hand raise. Put it in the chat because I have it on the gallery view for the rather the speaker view for the purpose of recording. Amina Masri would like to speak. Go ahead.
Hi, Stan and everyone. It's just a few suggestions. They've been done before, but I think they are effective if everyone's joined. One of them is a tweet storm where we all tweet at the same time. And as Qutayba said, we can have it targeted to our officials here. So everybody to their state officials, even people outside, even if you're in Europe, Canada, join in the effort. Another thing we've been doing for Rania Al-Abbasi is on the 11th, which is the day that she was arrested, everybody changes their profile picture just for 24 hours. And that takes the attention of people who visits the Facebook, like, why is everybody putting that picture? And that, kind of encourage them to look more into it if they don't know. Also, sometimes we take for granted because we keep talking about the same things, we feel down and we do not feel the importance of saying it, but you'll be amazed every time I retweet or share something, I get sometimes questions like, what's the story of this family? I thought like I shared it 1,000 times and that's it. The whole world knows about it, but you'll be surprised by how the hashtags work because people click on it from a random post that may be talking about Ukrainians detainees or anything, or Palestinians, and it just takes them to your page or to Syria or to Rania or Dr. Majd. So it's very important to keep using them, even though sometimes we feel it's overused. Also, I think he left from Amnesty in Boston, but we've talked with them also to do a stand for pick a very crowded spot in the downtown of Boston and do a stand for Dr. Rania Al-Abbasi, and since they are working on the case. Another idea is to show the pictures of the kids or even Dr. Mert, and just the idea that just presented recently, I think they showed the Medzert al-Tadamun, the massacre that just happened in the suburb of Damascus. The video was released by The Guardian. People just took the video to the street and stopped bystanders there and just showed them the video and recorded their reaction to it. So these are just some of the ideas that we can all do in wherever we are. Thank you, Stan.
Now, newspapers, I put in a link to something I published. Newspapers do publish opinion pieces, and they are very interested in opinion pieces that have details. I came from here, my cousin, this happened to so and so. That's something that they would like. And if it doesn't have to be a big piece. In fact, it shouldn't be. The opinion piece is 700 words. And, you can't try the New York Times right off the bat, but try your local paper and, call them up and see if you can write something about the situation of the prisoners. Say that you just came from a forum, or you just watched a forum about these two families, and you were horrified, and people ought to do this and that, and our public officials should speak out, and so on. A lot of different things that can happen. Another thing is every once in a while the politicians will have a public meeting, and they'll have the people come and go there, and they may have it on one subject, some tax issue or something. You can come and bring it up, the issue of the prisoners, and they're not going to throw you out. So that's another idea. So we're looking now for more people to speak. If you'd like to speak, say something in the chat, or put your name in the chat and I'll call on you. And if you just have ideas or links, put a link in the chat to a good organization or a good hashtag. There's 28 participants right now. We had 32 at one point. I'm sure you have a lot of ideas, things that other people did for other organizations at other times. I'm sure a lot will work. Hassan has a question. Go ahead, Hassan, unmute.
Good afternoon. Thank you, all of you, about put some light about our sadness, our pain and sadness for my sister Rania's cases and Kamal Ma's cases. Thank you for you all for this support. But I need to add, not the question, I need to add a comment about this case. 90% of Syrian nowadays believe that United States don't stand neutral on our Syrian violation. No, we believe as a Syrian, 90% of us believe that United States support this president, this dictator. And we all remember as a Syrian when Al-Assad strike 2 muscles, 3 muscles to Al-Ghouta area with they carry a chemical head weapon and kill 1,500 kids and mothers and family, and all what the action from United States when Al-Assad cross this red line, what they do, they take the weapon and leave this beast to continue the mission to kill and kill and kill. So now no one of us believe that there is a human right. Now there is only power right. Now we don't believe any organization like UNICEF or other organization about the kids. We from 9 years, 10 years, we stand and speak about our sisters' cases and these small kids, and what we get only a message from some emotional message from. And later on, the embassy of United States, they said and sent some message to Al-Assad to release Rania's family. They know everything. United States know everything. They see their photo the Tadamun massacre before 2 days, there's a lot of reports, there's a lot of evidence that this is a beast, this is a killer, this is a dictator, but United States don't stand with the right, they stand with the benefit. What the benefit of United States? To stand and support this killer. We are absolutely, we can't answer this question. From 9, 10, 11 years, Syrian suffering from killing, destroying our country. I remember when United States take the decision to enter Iraq without any good evidence that there is some weapons in Iraq, and they on one day they take a decision and make invasion for Iraq. But on our cases, 100,000 of evidence, but no any actions. So we don't believe now. Now we make a campaign on the social media, and we coming to the momentum that we do everything from 9 years, 10 years to speak about our sister. We don't get anything. So now we need some action. If there is any action, please let's do. But the very good words not enough for us at all. And we believe that United States is a partner of our problem, even of Rania's detained family. We believe that United States have a responsibility with these special cases. They know everything. They don't do anything. They just stand aside and see the whole vision without any action. And after that, they said about human rights, UNICEF, the kids' rights, the women rights. We don't believe that United States only stand with the benefit of United States. And this is because there is a lobby on United States support by Israel, and they believe that the protester and in Syria, if they rule the Syria, they will make something against Israel. And this is very a stupid idea, I think. And this is only just a comment. So I need to thank all of you, but I believe now there is no any action against Rania's cases and Kamal Mas cases because there is no any intention from the authority of United States. They are just they speak and they publish something like the embassy of United States in Syria free Rania. They write this only because they can't do. They need to show that United States stand with the human rights, but actually we don't believe it. Thank you, Stanley.
Thank you. Yeah, it is very curious, you know, that the United States now is almost in open war with Russia over Ukraine, but over Syria, what is going on? Why isn't the United States helping the Syrians? Not even necessarily with war-making stuff, but a lot of people don't know about this place called Al-Rukban, which is on the border with Jordan and Iraq. And it's 30 miles from a US base. The families are living there. I think 10, 12,000 people still living there. A lot of the men were actually guarding or fighting ISIS, working with the United States on this, but the United States won't even supply these people living under terrible conditions in Al-Rukban with, you know, medicine and food and things like that. I mean, it's a real scandal. And Hassan brought up the question of Israel. And so some have speculated that, well, Israel is working with Russia and Russia lets Israel bomb Iranians in Syria. And because of this cooperation, the United States bends over backwards for its pal Israel. And so it's absolutely disgraceful, and we shouldn't allow that, or shouldn't just let it pass by, and should bring it up when we talk about Syria. Who else would like to make a comment or ask a question? Give us an idea about something that could be done, something old, something new. We have been at it for about 70 minutes. I'm sure we could get people to do artwork, maybe get kids to do artwork, and get that with TikTok or whatever. These new things that I know nothing about. Maybe we can persuade Dylan to make a song. But what other ideas do people have for, or put in some good websites in the chat, or Twitter feeds? Nyla, would you like to say something?
Yeah, actually, there is a song, by the way. It's done by Samir Al-Akta and Zafar Sadaqa recently, especially for Rania and her kids' story in Arabic for sure. But it's really, actually, there is no support in the media. Just us, we are trying to publish and talk about it. But it's really very, very good idea. And I think it's help. But again, again, we need US United States to help us because really they have the tools. We believe they have the tools. We need really more advance in this file. Thank you.
Thanks. And do send us the link to that song.
I just posted it, Stanley, in the chat, and it actually has English subtitle.
Oh, great. And then David said he'll provide a Spanish translation. So that's good.
Yeah, Amna, thank you for you, Amna. She is the one who translated the song. It's really very, very, very good, helping in this issue.
We should get a Ukrainian translation. Ukrainians are facing thousands, tens of thousands who have been taken out of the country. Some went voluntarily to run away from the war, but we're told that tens of thousands of people have been taken away and brought into Russia. So there are some of these same problems with all these situations. Other people who would like to say things? Other websites, groups working on Syria in the United States? I don't know, did I miss a person here? There was something in Arabic from Ahmad. Did he want to speak? In the
No,
chat?
he was just thanking you.
Oh, okay.
And everyone.
Okay. How about maybe I'll give an opportunity to our three speakers to say anything they'd like to conclude with, and then we will end. Oh, and well, before we do that, David would like to speak again briefly. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I just wanted to, so I think Hassan's intervention was really important and very, very valuable. I think it's absolutely true. I agree with everything he said. I also think that there's a real serious, I think somebody sort of responded, I couldn't tell who it was. It said that, we need to advance, we still need to try to pressure the US government to do something, and in effect, because they have the tools. And that is true. That's where we're at. It's the difficult situation to be in, where we can be aware of the cynicism of this government, and yet they have the power and the tools that if we could bring the pressure to bear on them, they could secure the release of these people. And so it's entirely correct at the same time to be aware of and even to denounce the cynicism for the families, and we should support them in this effort to attempt to make every appeal they can to the government to intervene on the behalf of the detainees. And so it creates a kind of when you do this kind of work, what you have to have is sort of like a two-pronged approach you know, one side you have to supporting detainees while they insist that the U.S. government use its tools to secure the release of the detainees, and the other side of it, we have to, in order to talk to a broader audience of people who are skeptical about whatever the U.S. government says, you know, and you have to think about Black Lives Matter, et cetera, the refugee support, immigrant rights movement, et cetera, undocumented movement. These people are skeptical about the United States government through experience. And we have to explain to them, we understand the skepticism, we share it. But these detainees, are the families of detainees, are fighting for their loved ones. And so they're going to the one government that has the power that could do something. And we have to support them in that effort. I just felt like to say that.
Thank you. And for final comments, Nyla, would you like to say? Oh, I see Megan. I'm sorry, Megan would like to talk. If you could unmute, Megan, go right ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just applauding or giving a hat tip to David. I agree with that opinion.
Okay.
I guess I'm happy to address the comment that I made while I'm on here. I did want to kind of co-sign what you were indicating, Stanley, about TikTok. I think that that's a space that has an incredible reach, and it really has a reach when people are telling their personal stories. Those seem to get a lot of traction. So I would say I would keep that on the radar and have that as be part of further organizing discussions. I think that could potentially, you know, if leveraged accurately and very strategically, like that could actually really turn public opinion.
Great. And maybe you could volunteer to help us learn how to use that tool.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm open to that conversation for sure.
Great. Okay, so Nyla, now final comment.
Yeah, as I told you, Stanley, really, since we have this group of civil organizations such as your group, we are still have hope. I'm really glad that I'm here today. I'm really appreciating your effort to make this event successful. And I believe that there is some way we can end up with Rania release. I hope one day she will be here with us and her children and talking about her experience. And inshallah, as I told you, since there is such a groups working for justice, we still have hope. Thank you.
Thank you. Marianne.
Yes, I'd like to say a little bit about our work with the U.S. government. I know a lot of people are saying let's put more pressure on them. And I do agree they do need more pressure. Right now, we were promised a meeting with National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, since he had a meeting with families of American hostages detained unjustly around the world. And he had promised that meeting in November, December of last year. And I know he's met with multiple families. Up until this time, we haven't had a chance to meet with him. Yet Austin Tice's parents have luckily been able to meet with the president. So I see that there's a big difference here where one family is meeting with the president and we're still struggling to meet with the National Security Advisor. We're still on the list of families to meet with him. So it does kind of seem similar to what I think John posted in the chat a little while ago about, you know, the US government always viewing like my father as an Arab, as a Muslim, as a Syrian, since he is a Syrian, he's a dual national Syrian American. His case is not 100% only purely an American citizen. He's also a Syrian. So they don't take it as serious or to heart as they would that somebody that has a relatable name that, you know, can relate to them more. So yeah, I do see that difference there. And I do see that this administration is not as passionate or doesn't have they don't really care to do much about the Syrian situation. I think it's like the elephant in the room that they just want to avoid and never talk about. And so they'd rather not discuss it at all. It's easier for them to not discuss it, not bring it up, than to address this big, huge elephant that they don't know what to do with. And what I've understood is that they don't want to cause another big scenery where they do the wrong thing and you know, which I think it's ridiculous regardless, because of the thousands of people detained, of all those that were brutally murdered, of everything, of all the millions of refugees that have had to leave. We do need the US government to step in, but they have taken a back step, and it is really difficult to get them to do anything. But I have to mention that the suffering that we're going through, I do see with other families that are going through the same type of troubles, that are not, their loved ones are not held in Syria. They have family in different countries, like in Venezuela and Russia and other countries, where they're also having a difficult time getting the US government to move to do something. And that's also, it's not that they're just lacking in Syria, they're just very hard administration to get them moving to care for hostages or those unjustly detained around the world, regardless. Sorry, there was something else I wanted to say and I kind of forgot what it was, but if I remember, I'll come back and say it.
Good, good. Qutaiba, your final remarks?
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much. First, I mean, I think there's a duty for us who are, you know, able to live in countries different than Syria, different than many countries in, you know, in the region, countries of, you know, with democratic institutions, with democratic system. There is something for us to do. And I know Muhammad raised a question here, like, how do we communicate more with decision makers? And I want to say, I don't think the problem is actually communicating with decision makers themselves. I remember few months ago, we had a conversation with a high-level decision maker in the US Congress, and we were talking about the issue of, you know, Afghanis being stuck in Afghanistan, forced, you know, past the withdrawal, and the issue of the withdrawal itself. And I was told, you know, Qutaiba, what you're saying is very important, is on point, but my constituents back in my home office are calling and saying, you know, what a great job the US is doing by withdrawing from Afghanistan. So while those channels to, you know, top decision makers are being fulfilled, the problem is always in, you know, having people on the ground on a grassroots level reaching out to echo the messages that I'm, you know, sending, that Mariam and Naila and sending, and also like people on the group like Seema and other people here who are sending to decision makers. Those kind of like communications are being done, but on a grassroots level, those decision makers, they don't feel that their constituents are reaching out. So this is where there's a lot of work for, you know, folks like yourselves and networks around you to make sure that your officials on a local level are hearing the same message that we are sending, you know, whether it is in the US Capitol or other Western capitals. And this is the thing, I mean, I lived in Syria, you know, most of my life. There wasn't any capacity for me as Syrian to reach out into the system to influence decision-making. For us who are living in the United States, in Canada, and other places, you have this opportunity. We have this opportunity to actually make a change. And that's what makes us so different than, you know, other systems of governance. And it is very important for us, because we have this opportunity, because we have this access, to actually utilize it to make sure that our voices are heard, and that the messaging we are doing on the capital level is being echoed on the local level. So when those decision makers are at the point of making a decision, they know that there are votes on the line if they don't do the right decision. And that is a very important task to do. The other thing for those of you, and I'm like glad there are a lot of Syrians with us here, always feel free, you know, to reach out to us, whether there are witnesses, there are like, you know, stories that we can echo, you know, specific demands or cases we can work on. And, you know, there is no one man or one woman show here. There are so many of us, whether, Mariam, Naila, Amina, Stanley, myself. There's also, again, like, Seema on the group with us, Seema Nassar. She worked closely with many of the Syrian detainees families and many other, people on the group. You can always reach out to and try to find a way where, you can support and you can help. I'll share my email as well and encourage, like, all of those people also to share their contacts. And please feel free to reach out to us, whatever you need.
Great. So he's going to put his email in the chat. I just put in a TV show that we do, thestrugglevideo.org. We've been doing it weekly for more than 15 years. And we have a lot about Syria, Ukraine, and many other things. And we'll use parts of this forum on that program. Before we go, I want to make one announcement. If you're in the Connecticut area, there's a demonstration for Palestine this Sunday, tomorrow, 3 o'clock tomorrow, Sunday, on the New Haven Green. And bring Syrian colors, bring a t-shirt with a slogan or any kind of literature and so on. There'll be some interesting people there. So I think we are finished. If anyone has any last thing they want to put in the chat, please do it now. And then remember to save the chat. Click on those 3 dots, click on the ellipsis, and refer back to this for all the things that there are of use to you. And get a hold of us. I'm going to share one more thing, if I do it right. And that is that's our website, Promoting Enduring Peace. And you see our site down below and our Twitter handle. I hope you could follow us. Okay, so we've done a good hour and a half. Thank you so much for being a part of this forum. And thank you so much to all our speakers. Good afternoon, good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.